My parents believed the best way to instill independence in a child was to split everything, 50-50ths. If breakfast cost $10, I paid $5. I owed half of the $600 in school fees. Even when I had to go to the ER for running a high fever, my parents covered the bill and reminded me, get a summer job. Don't get into the habit of owing money. For years, I thought they were simply raising me to stand on my own. Then my little sister Millie was born. Mom's face beamed when Millie kissed her on the cheek. Once there, now we're even. Millie made Dad breakfast one morning, wanting to get piano lessons. Dad happily signed her up right away. Meanwhile, every dime I spent was written down in my parents' ledger. On my 18th birthday, I asked Mom, can I get a birthday cake by giving you a massage? Mom furrowed her brows. Meadow, you have to pay what you owe. Stop looking for shortcuts. You're still $1,700.48 behind from last month. When are you going to pay us back? Holding back my tongue, I clutched the scholarship offer from a university abroad inside my pocket. It wouldn't be long now. Once I cleared my debt of $1,748, I'd owe the family nothing. From then on, she would be no mother of mine. I'll pay you back real soon. I awkwardly picked at the hem of my shirt. That's what you say all the time. Name one month you actually paid off your debt. Your father and I are generous enough not to hold it against you. My mother, Cassie, brushed me off with a wave of her hand before turning to my sister, who was sitting nearby, absorbed in a picture book. Millie, what do we call those who owe money and never pay back? Millie looked up, her eyes lighting up with a smile. A bum. That's right. You're so smart, sweetheart. Don't be a bum like your sister. Cassie pulled Millie into a hug, and the pair sank into the couch together, giggling away. I stood to the side in embarrassment, the cozy scene stinging my cheeks hot. Then came a knock on the door. I rushed to open the front door, and there stood my father, Ethan, small, holding a large cake and fresh ribs with a grin on the other side. As my eyes welled up, I reached out to take the cake from him. Ethan dumped the ribs on me while holding the cake high. Millie, guess what I bought you? With Millie coming running in delight, Ethan scooped her into his arms. Ethan nuzzled her cheek lovingly, and she snuggled up with a chuckle. Meanie, your beard is poking me. I'm a meanie. Who gets this big cake? Then, feigning anger, Ethan pulled a long face to tease Millie. You're the best daddy ever. The best in the whole wide world. Millie smacked a kiss right on Ethan's face. Cassie approached and gave Millie a little squeeze on the cheek. Our Millie is amazing for taking first place in the piano competition. Daddy got you a cake. How about I whip up your favorite barbecue ribs for dinner? Since I was still standing there, Cassie pointed toward the kitchen. Meadow, wash the ribs and cut them up for me. I'll season them in a minute. I carried the ribs to the sink and rinsed them under cold water, scrubbing away the last streaks of blood. Even with the faucet running full blast, I could still hear their laughter echoing from the living room. I blinked hard, fighting back the sting in my eyes. Cake was meant for Millie here, I thought. Ethan recalled that it was my birthday today. It didn't take Cassie long to get dinner on the table. The dinner table was covered with Millie's favorite food, with a strawberry cake displayed front and center. Ethan and Cassie sat on either side of Millie. Ethan raised his camera and snapped a photo. I sat at the far end of the table, quietly digging in. Ethan glanced at me before uttering softly, Meadow, come here and have a slice of cake. I stayed where I was, taking another bite of green beans and mashed potatoes. Cassie slammed her utensil down with a clatter, and said in contempt, just leave her be. Ever since you got home, she's had that long face, as if we've abused her or something. A minute ago, she was asking for cake. Now that it's time to eat it, she won't even come over. Cassie turned to Millie, her expression tender. Come here, sweetheart, I'll feed you a bite. After dinner, Cassie pulled out the family ledger, just like she always did. Cake was $150, so your share is $30. The ingredients and food prep costs come to another $30. You owe me $67. Piercing my lips, I kept to myself for a bit before uttering. $30 is all I'm paying. Cassie was taken aback, not expecting me to push back at all. Seriously? Trying to bargain with your mother? I didn't eat the cake, so I'm not covering the cost for it. Cassie raised her voice. Whose fault is that? You said you wanted cake, so your father went out and bought it just for you. Now you're acting like you never wanted it. I lifted my head, tears rolling down my cheeks. Was the cake for me though? Didn't Dad buy it for Millie? So what? Did anyone stop you from eating the cake? I can't eat it. My voice broke with sobs, and my tears blurred Cassie's face. I said, I'm allergic to strawberries, Mom. Did you forget? Cassie opened her mouth, but no words came out. Moments later, she turned her head away. All right, you win. I'll take $30. Just hand the money over now. I returned to my room. From the drawer, I pulled out a rusty tin box. It held everything I owned. I pulled out the crumpled bills and a handful of loose change, counting them over and over. $1, $2. I had $32. That was every penny I'd managed to save from working after school during my senior year of high school. I had to figure out a way to make money and fast. It was 97 degrees in July. Dressed in a bulky bear mascot costume, I stood outside the entrance of a newly opened shopping mall, waving customers inside. It was one of the highest paying gigs posted in the local part-time job group. I bounced around in the oversized bear suit, dancing and posing for photos. Inside the costume, the heat was suffocating. My forehead was drenched in sweat. With every move I made, drops trickled into my eyes, burning terribly. As I blinked through the pain, my lips were dry and cracked. What I wouldn't give for a sip of cold water. Mommy, the blueberry ice cream is yucky. It was Millie's voice. Turning toward the sound, I saw Ethan and Cassie emerging from the mall, laden with shopping bags. Millie walked between them, holding an ice cream cone with a frown. Cassie took the ice cream from Millie and dumped it in a trash can. If you don't like it, we'll just throw it away. I'll make you a milkshake once we get home. Millie glanced around and spotted me, dressed as a mascot at the mall entrance. Hey, that's a cute teddy bear. Lifting the hem of her little dress, she scampered over and looked at me with wide, blinking eyes. Mommy, Daddy, I want a picture with the teddy. Sure thing. I'll hold you up, Millie. Ethan walked over and scooped Millie up, so her face snuggled right against the giant plush head. Cassie walked over and draped an arm across my shoulders. A staff member snapped a photo of us together. Only I knew the photo captured the four of us as a family. All right, we got the picture. Now let's head home. It's scorching out here. Ethan put Millie down and picked up the shopping bags again. Taking Millie by the hand, Cassie walked toward the parking lot. The trio drifted further away until they disappeared around a corner. I danced at the mall entrance all day long, And at the end of the day, I collected $100 from the manager. With cash in hand, I bought a bottle of cold water and gulped the whole thing down. Back home, Ethan was playing board games with Millie, while Cassie was busy in the kitchen. Retreating to my bedroom, I put the remaining cash into the tin box. I logged today's earnings in my notebook. July 10th. Earned $98. Get in here and give me a hand. At the sound of Cassie's voice, I put away the tin box and went to the kitchen. Look at you, running around all day doing God knows what. Don't get comfortable. Just because high school's over. Your father and I are only covering half of your college fees. Cassie was filleting fish at the kitchen counter, grumbling under her breath. I wasn't out hanging around. I was working. Didn't you say that? I'm behind on the payments. Cassie glanced up at me, her gaze filled with strange, unreadable emotions. At least you're finally acting responsibly. Go on, shock those. Millie wants baked cod with corn for dinner tonight. Get those shocked, and I won't charge you for tonight's food. I quietly pulled up a small stool and started peeling back the husks. Minutes later, Millie came running in. What are you doing, Meadow? Let me in on the fun too. Millie reached for an ear of corn. Cassie was quick to stop her. Oh no, sweetheart. What are you doing? You'll scratch your hands on the husks. Hurry along and play with Daddy. Meadow and I can handle this. Without a peep, I carried on shucking corn. By the time I'd finished the whole pile, the coarse corn silk had worked its way beneath my fingernails. All 10 of my fingertips were raw, itchy, and stinging. With the mall's grand opening wrapping up 3 days later, I had just over $200 to my name, so I bought lemons, cups, and bags of ice. Every evening, I set up my lemonade cart outside in the town square, where people gathered after work to eat, shop, and escape the heat. The brutal summer heat worked in my favor because business was better than I'd imagined. One evening, I was out there calling out to potential customers. Holding Millie's hand, Cassie led her across the town square after her piano lesson. Tagging along were several of Millie's friends and their respective parents. Spotting my cart, Millie bolted toward me. Meadow, I want some lemonade. I'll have a cup. Millie tugged playfully at my sleeve, and her friends quickly chimed in asking for lemonade too. As one parent reached for their phone to pay, Cassie put a hand out to stop them. Oh, don't worry about it. This is my daughter. She's running a little business. It's just a few drinks. Consider it our treat. The parent gave me a thumbs up. Good for you. You're working hard and gaining life experience. How old are you? Are you in college? Not even stopping for a beat, I kept making the lemonades one by one for the kids. I'm 18. I start my freshman year in September. Oh, fantastic. Where are you going to college? Stanley Ford. I deliberately gave the name of a different school. Wide-eyed, the parents started showering Cassie with compliments. Oh my goodness, Millie's mom. You've done such a wonderful job raising your children. Your youngest is so sweet and thoughtful, and your eldest is so responsible and accomplished. My daughter just stays home, glued to her video games ever since high school ended. You've got to tell me your secret. I need to take notes from you on how to raise kids. Cassie put her hand over her mouth in joy, beaming from ear to ear. To be honest, it took a lot of effort on my part. I've raised Meadow to be self-reliant since she was little. I have a dedicated ledger for her to build her financial awareness. Meadow was out selling flowers on Valentine's Day when she was 7. Isn't that right, Meadow? I paused from squeezing the lemon, so Cassie did remember pushing a 7-year-old out on the streets to sell flowers. Back then, I was too young to read facial cues. I simply ran up to just anyone to pitch my blossoms. Once I approached a drunkard who had his heart broken. He snatched the flowers out of my hands and tore into me. I burst out crying in fear. For days, I had nightmares on end. Meadow, Cassie's piercing gaze bore into me. Tapping out of my thoughts, I cast my eyes over to Millie, who was playing with her friends not too far away. Millie's 8 this year, I said out of the blue. What? The words didn't register with Cassie right away. I paused and looked Cassie in the eye before uttering Millie's 8. I was only 7 when I sold flowers on the street. Why haven't you asked Millie to work and earn money? Cassie pulled a long face and spoke in hushed tones. What's that supposed to mean, Meadow? Must you embarrass me in front of people? I lifted my chin and met Cassie's eyes. Without fear, I simply stated a fact. How is it embarrassing? Maybe you know deep down that you're just playing favorites. Shut up, Cassie shouted. You're the older one. Why are you so petty? Do you have to make everything a competition with your sister? She's only a child. Then answer me. Why aren't you keeping count of Millie's spending? Why does she have to smack? A sharp slap cut me off. Cassie stared at me with bloodshot eyes, her chest heaving. You certainly are full of yourself, Cassie hissed through clenched teeth. With things spiraling out of control, the parent pulled Cassie back. Oh come on. She's just a kid. Why are you getting into it? Let's not hold her up. She needs to get back to work. Come on now. The parents dragged Cassie away and made their way out of the town square. I ran my fingers along my swollen right cheek before covering my face with a mask. It was back to business for me. I was still halfway short of the $1,748 Cassie expected from me. It was 10 at night when I dragged my weary body to my room. Fishing out the tin box, I deposited the money I'd earned. As usual, however, I opened the box to find only a few crumpled bills. The large notes were gone. With shaking hands, I counted the scattered change, which was just a little over $400. That couldn't be right. I had stashed the money safely just yesterday. It was just shy of $1,000 when I counted. Just as I was frantically tearing my room apart, my bedroom door creaked open. The door opened another inch. Cassie stood there. Her eyes dropped to the mess on my floor. What are you doing? I froze. Then I slowly straightened, looking for something. Her expression changed so quickly I almost missed it. A flash of panic. Then irritation. Looking for what? My money. Cassie leaned against the doorframe. What money? The money in my tin box. She scoffed. You're accusing me of stealing from you now? I didn't accuse anyone. You didn't have to. Cassie stepped into my room, her gaze sweeping over the scattered clothes, books, and empty drawers. You're 18, Meadow. Maybe it's time you stop blaming everyone else whenever you lose something. I stared at her. I counted it last night. And I had almost $1,000. And now, $400. She shrugged. Then maybe you spent it. I didn't. You're always working. Maybe you bought something and forgot. I didn't. Cassie's face hardened. Are you calling me a liar? No. Then stop questioning me. She turned to leave. I looked at her back. Mom. She stopped. Did you take it? For several seconds, neither of us moved. Then Cassie slowly turned around. Her expression was strangely calm. Why would I steal from my own daughter? I almost laughed. Because you keep a ledger for every spoonful of food I eat. Because you charged me for emergency room bills. Because you made me sell flowers at 7. Because you tell everyone you're teaching me independence while giving Millie everything she asks for. Instead, I said nothing. Cassie walked out. The door clicked shut. I stared at it. Something about her reaction bothered me. She hadn't asked how much was missing. She hadn't asked where I'd kept it. She hadn't even looked surprised when I said the money was gone. She already knew. I pulled my notebook from beneath my mattress and flipped through the pages. Every day's earnings were recorded. Every dollar. Every cent. Then I noticed something. My handwriting from July 9th read, $96 earned. Total savings, $986. I turned the page. July 10th, $98 earned. Total savings, $1,084. But my tin box now contained barely $400. Someone had taken more than $600. And whoever it was knew exactly how much I had. I sat on my bed until an idea came to me. The next morning, I went to the bank. I deposited every dollar I had left. Then I opened a new account. Only my name was on it. No joint access. No family member. No passwords they knew. When I returned home, Cassie was sitting at the kitchen table with the ledger. She didn't look up. You're late. I went to the bank. Her pen stopped. For what? To deposit my money. Cassie frowned. Why? Because I don't want to lose it. Her face went rigid. What is that supposed to mean? I smiled. Nothing. That afternoon, I went back to the lemonade cart. Business was slow. Then a black SUV stopped across the street. A woman stepped out wearing a cream-colored suit. She walked directly toward me. Are you Meadow? I blinked. Yes. She handed me a business card. My name is Vivian Hart. I'm the admissions director for Stanley Ford University. My heart stopped. But I never applied there. I know. She smiled. You applied to Westbridge International. I stiffened. That scholarship was for Westbridge. Yes. And your application caught our attention. She handed me a folder. We'd like to offer you a full scholarship. I stared at the paperwork. Tuition, housing, meal plan, books, everything, fully covered. My fingers trembled. How did you find me? Your scholarship committee interviewed several students. Your work history was unusual. I swallowed. Unusual? You've worked since you were 7. Her smile faded. We also spoke to one of your former teachers. I looked down. She continued quietly. Apparently, you've been supporting yourself for years. I didn't know what to say. Then she added, there's one condition. What? You have to accept by August 1st. I almost laughed. August 1st. That was less than 3 weeks away. I looked at the acceptance papers. For the first time, leaving didn't feel like a fantasy. It was real. I could actually disappear from this house. I could stop being Meadow, the family debt. I could become simply Meadow. That evening, I came home carrying groceries. Millie was sprawled across the couch while Ethan helped her with a puzzle. Meadow. She pointed at the bags. Did you buy snacks? No. Why not? Because I don't owe you snacks. Millie's smile vanished. Ethan looked up. What did you say? I put the groceries away. Nothing. Cassie appeared from the kitchen. Meadow, come here. I followed her. She lowered her voice. Your father and I talked. About your college. I waited. We've decided we won't be paying half anymore. I stared at her. Okay. You'll be responsible for all of it. Okay. Cassie frowned. You're not upset? No. She looked almost disappointed. You understand that tuition is expensive? Yes. And housing? Yes. Books, transportation, food. I know. Cassie crossed her arms. Then how are you going to afford it? I smiled. I'll figure it out. Her expression tightened. Don't come crawling back to us when you can't. I won't. I walked away. Behind me, I heard Cassie mutter something to Ethan. Then Ethan asked, did she agree? Cassie answered quietly. She thinks she can manage. I stopped. Agree to what? I slowly turned back. Neither noticed me. Cassie opened the family ledger. Once she leaves, we can finally settle everything. Ethan sighed. Are you sure? She'll owe us for years. My stomach dropped. I stepped backward before they could see me. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about those words. Once she leaves, we can finally settle everything. The next morning, I searched my room again. This time, I wasn't looking for money. I was looking for evidence. I checked beneath the bed. Nothing. Inside the closet. Nothing. Behind the dresser. Nothing. Then I remembered something. The old ledger. The one Cassie used when I was a child. I hadn't seen it in years. I searched the attic. And there it was. Covered in dust. I opened it. The first entry was dated 12 years ago. Meadow age 6. Food $3. Electricity $2. Water $1. Laundry $4. I stared at the page. Then I turned another. And another. Every single expense had been recorded. But then I noticed something strange. There were entries for things I had never used. Private tutoring. New clothes. Medical expenses. School supplies. Hundreds of dollars. I flipped faster. Then I saw Millie's name. The entries beside her name were completely different. Piano lessons paid. New shoes paid. Summer camp paid. Birthday party paid. No debt. No interest. No repayment. I stared at the pages. Then I found the entry that made my blood run cold. It was dated 3 months before Millie was born. Meadow's future education fund. $18,000. My eyes widened. There had been money. A lot of it. Money my parents had supposedly never had. And beside the entry was a handwritten note. Transferred to Millie's account upon her birth. I sat down on the attic floor. My hands began to shake. They hadn't raised me to be independent. They had taken everything meant for me. And given it to Millie. I turned the page. At the bottom was my father's signature. And beneath it, my mother's. Then I heard footsteps on the stairs. I quickly closed the ledger. Someone was coming. And judging by the hurried footsteps, they knew exactly what I'd found. I shoved the old ledger under my shirt and hurried downstairs. Dad was waiting at the bottom. His face went pale when he saw what I was holding. Where did you find that? I smiled. So you know what it is. He reached for it. I stepped back. Don't. For once, Ethan didn't argue. He just looked exhausted. Meadow, your mother made some mistakes. Some. I opened the ledger. $18,000. My education fund. Transferred to Millie. Dad's silence answered everything. I laughed bitterly. So all those years you told me I owed you money. He lowered his eyes. The money was never about independence. No. His voice was barely audible. Your mother thought Millie needed more. I nodded. And you agreed. He didn't deny it. I walked straight upstairs, grabbed my suitcase and packed everything I owned. When Cassie saw me at the front door, she panicked. Where are you going? College. You haven't paid what you owe. I pulled out my phone. I checked the records. Her face drained. The $18,000 education fund alone covers what you claim I owe. That money belongs to the family. No. I looked directly at her. It belonged to me. Then I showed her the bank statement. I also found out where my missing $600 went. Cassie froze. Dad looked at her. Cassie, she snapped. I borrowed it. You stole it. I was going to put it back. I laughed. After you took money from the daughter you accused of being a bum? Millie wandered into the hallway. What happened? Cassie immediately softened. Nothing, sweetheart. I looked at Millie. Your piano lessons, summer camps, clothes, vacations, all paid for. Millie smiled. Yeah. Mommy and Daddy said I deserve nice things. I nodded. I'm happy for you. Then I turned to leave. Cassie grabbed my arm. You're abandoning your family. I pulled free. You abandoned me years ago. 3 weeks later, I moved into my university dorm. I never sent another payment. Cassie tried threatening me, then guilt-tripping me. Then she called my university and demanded they cancel my scholarship, because I was supposedly financially irresponsible. It backfired spectacularly. The scholarship committee reviewed the documents. They saw the ledger. They saw the stolen money. They saw the financial records. And they asked me one question. Would you like us to report this? I smiled. Yes. My parents were investigated. The so-called family debt disappeared. So did their reputation. The $18,000 education fund was recovered and transferred into my account. The money I'd worked for was returned too. As for Millie, she was furious that her piano lessons were suddenly cancelled. It's Meadow's fault. Cassie tried to defend her, but Dad finally snapped. No, Millie. It was never Meadow's fault. That was the first time he admitted it. Years later, I graduated at the top of my class. I had a great job, my own apartment, and a life completely separate from them. Then one afternoon, I received a letter from Cassie. Inside was a single sentence. We miss you. Come home. I stared at it. Then I threw it away. I had spent 18 years paying for a family that never treated me like one. I wasn't going to spend another day trying to earn their love. My phone buzzed. A message from my bank. Deposit received, $18,000. I smiled. The debt was paid. Just not by me. 5 years later, my name appeared on the cover of every business magazine in the country. Meadowvale, 23, becomes the youngest self-made billionaire in the country. The company I started in my dorm room had exploded after I developed a software platform that transformed small businesses. I became ridiculously rich. Penthouse, private jet, cars I barely remembered buying, and most importantly, complete financial freedom. I never contacted my parents. Then one evening, my assistant walked into my office. Ms. Vale, there are 3 people downstairs asking to see you. Names. She hesitated. Ethan, Cassie, and Millie. I nearly laughed. Send them up. The elevator doors opened. My parents stepped out. They looked completely different. Dad's expensive watch was gone. Mom's designer handbag had been replaced with a worn purse. Millie, now 20, stood between them with her arms crossed. They looked around my office. Floor-to-ceiling windows. A city skyline beneath us. A giant portrait of me hanging behind my desk. Cassie stared at it. You really did this? I leaned back. Apparently. Her eyes filled with tears. Meadow. I raised a hand. Don't. She swallowed. We came to apologize. For what? She looked down. For everything. I smiled. That covers a lot. Dad stepped forward. We were wrong. You were. We treated you unfairly. You did. We shouldn't have made you pay for everything. You shouldn't have. Cassie's tears finally fell. I was jealous. That made me laugh. Jealous of what? You were always so capable. You never needed me. Millie needed me. I stared at her. So you punished me for being capable? Cassie broke down. I thought you would always come back. I shook my head. That was your mistake. Then Millie spoke. Meadow. I looked at her. She seemed uncomfortable. I know I benefited from everything. You did. I didn't understand. You were 8. I don't blame you. She lowered her head. But I'm sorry. I nodded. That apology is yours to make. Dad stepped forward again. Can you help us? I raised an eyebrow. With what? Our business failed. I already knew. My assistant had sent me the report. Their company had collapsed months earlier. Their house was nearly gone. Their debts were enormous. Cassie wiped her tears. We don't need much. How much? She whispered the number. I almost choked. They wanted $5 million. I leaned back. You came here asking me for $5 million? Dad looked ashamed. We know it's a lot. No. I shook my head. You know what's funny? They waited. For 18 years, you kept a ledger because you were terrified I'd owe you money. I opened my desk drawer. Inside was a photocopy of that original ledger. I placed it on the desk. You charged me for food. Page after page. Electricity. Another page. Medical care. Another. School supplies. I closed the ledger. And now you want $5 million from me? Cassie sobbed. We're still your parents. I smiled. And you're still my parents. I stood. But I'm no longer your daughter when you need money. Their faces collapsed. I picked up a check. Dad stared at it hopefully. I handed it to him. Here. His hands trembled. The amount was $1,748.48. Exactly what they claimed I owed when I was 18. Cassie stared at it. What is this? Your final payment. I smiled. You said once I paid my debt, I would owe the family nothing. I pushed the check toward them. Consider the account closed. My father started crying. My mother covered her face. Millie quietly whispered, Meadow. I walked toward the elevator. Then stopped. Oh, and Dad. He looked up. Remember when you told me I needed to learn independence? He nodded through tears. I smiled. Thanks. The elevator doors closed. I leaned against the wall and laughed. For 18 years, they had taught me how to survive without them. They had succeeded. They just never imagined I'd become rich enough that they would someday need me. And when that day came, I didn't owe them a thing.